When you've got overripe bananas, there's nothing better than a fresh baked loaf of banana bread. I'm gonna show you our favorite recipe. We're gonna do two things. One is mash the bananas, and two, line our loaf pan. This recipe makes a fair amount of batter, so we're using a 9-inch loaf pan. I've got a nice big piece of parchment paper, and I'm gonna show you guys my favorite way to fit it. So you take your piece of parchment paper and lay it on top of your loaf pan, and then you just stick your fingers into the corners of the pan to make these very subtle marks of where the corners are. And then cut a straight line to each corner. Now when you slide it in, nice. I like having a little bit of overhang. That way, when the bread is done, I can just lift it right out, which is really nice instead of trying to like dig it out. So that's that, our beautiful parchment. So I've got some lovely ripe bananas here. Since these are kind of small, I'm gonna use 3. If you don't have ripe bananas, you can bake your bananas in the oven at 300 degrees for 15 minutes to a half an hour until they're black and shiny on the outside, and then they'll be perfectly mushy and ready to be mashed. You can also use a potato masher if you'd like, but I think a fork works just fine. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want to make sure there's no big chunks in your banana bread. You can just set this aside. Now we can get started on the mixing. So starting with a medium bowl, I'm mixing all the dry ingredients. We've got flour, baking soda, and half a teaspoon of kosher salt. Just gonna give this a whisk, and that is good to go. Now we're doing our wet ingredients. Slightly bigger bowl for this, and we're gonna start with our melted butter, plain old granulated white sugar, 1 whole egg and 1 egg yolk. The yolk just makes the bread a little bit richer and more moist, so sorry I said moist, but it's true. I'm just going to use the shell to separate the yolk from the white, and we'll just leave the white in the bowl. There we go. Now we've got our sour cream. Typically you put milk in the batter of banana bread, but we're using sour cream because it adds a really nice tanginess and a bit of richness. Word to the wise, use full fat sour cream. It's way more flavorful than the low fat stuff. Fat equals flavor, as we know, and sour cream is no different. And vanilla. Just a teaspoon. Now I'm just mixing all these ingredients together, and then we'll add our bananas. Once we combine the dry ingredients with the wet ingredients, we don't really want to stir too much, so it's good to get everything fully incorporated before you combine the wet and the dry. So I'm just making sure this is smooth, everything's incorporated. All right, that looks nice and smooth. Banana going in. Bananas are mixed in, and it's time to start incorporating our dry ingredients. We're gonna do this in a couple installments, but it's really important with banana bread and really all quick breads that you don't overmix your batter because it'll make the end product a little bit tough. Don't worry about getting every lump out. It'll be totally fine when it comes out of the oven. The best way to make sure that you're not overmixing is just to be carefully folding rather than using like a wooden spoon or something where you're just like stirring around, working all that flour. A gentle fold is way better because it incorporates everything slowly and evenly. Lumps are definitely okay, but you don't really want to be seeing any dry flour. Make sure you're getting to that center bottom of the bowl when you're folding. It's easy to just keep going around the edge, but sometimes I'll find a hidden pocket right in the center. So this is how your batter will look before your mix-ins. So if you just wanted to do a plain banana bread, you could just pop this right in your loaf pan and start baking it. But we're gonna add some goodies because, at least personally, I don't really like banana bread if it doesn't have chocolate in it. You could also chop up a chocolate bar and just throw it in there. And then we've also got walnuts, toasted walnuts. You could also use pecans or really anything, any nut, any seed. I would say no more than like a cup and a half of mix-ins per banana bread though, so don't go too crazy. I'm going to fold both of these in, but I'm gonna reserve just a few of each of them so I can sprinkle some on top just for presentation. You can also add spices like cinnamon or nutmeg to this. This is looking nice and incorporated, so I'm gonna grab our loaf pan, give it a little spritz, canola oil, just to make things easier. Go, go, go. I'm just gonna smooth the top a bit so it bakes nice and even. I set aside a few chocolate chips and walnuts just to top our loaf with. I like doing this not only because it looks pretty, but it's also kind of nice to show people what's inside. I'm going to pop our banana bread in the oven for about an hour at 350 degrees. We'll keep checking it intermittently with a toothpick, just poking it right in the center. And when it comes out clean, it's ready. All right. It has been 50 minutes and it's time to check on our banana bread. Ooh. Looking good. I suspect it's ready, but we can use a toothpick just to be sure. It's clean, we're good. So I'm gonna let this cool in the pan for like 10 minutes and then I'll pull it out and let it cool in the cooling rack for like 30 and then we can slice into it. This is why we saved those extra ingredients. Doesn't it look so pretty? I'm an end person, so I'm gonna take the end. Chocolate and walnut in every bite. I don't think there's anything you could do with bananas. I think this is the best thing you could ever do with a ripe banana. It's stuffed with all the things I like, super moist. Sorry, it's a winner. This is how I like my banana bread, but how do you like yours? Let me know in the comments below.